Hello and thank you so much for joining us on today's edition of Joy Asonye Live. It's exciting to be here, especially with so much happening around. Today, unlike many other days, we'll be concentrating on two topics, two very trending topics. The first will be the COP28, that is the Conference of Parties happening in Dubai, and Nigerians have continued to on social media, of course, react to the event rather or after the United Nations Convention on Climate Change, that's the UNFCCC, published a provisional list of accredited delegates at the ongoing 28th meeting of the UN conference. According to the published list, Nigeria has about 1,411 delegates with badges accredited to attend the year's summit in Dubai. A review of the published list ranked Nigeria's joint third behind the UAE and Brazil, among other countries, to be present at the COP28. Nigerians continue to react on that, speaking about the cost of cutting down governance, although the government has replied saying that it is only little over 400 delegates that the country is funding for that event. Nigerians are still skeptical. However, what are the benefits of having so many people out there? Are there benefits at all? What is the cons of having it as well? After that, we'll move to this exodus of our skilled professionals from the country, or rather leaving our shores. Skilled professionals, from the medicals to the lecturers and teachers. It is becoming quite concerning to experts who tell you that these resources could have helped generate more in our GDP. We'll get to that conversation as well. To do justice to these topics, in the studio is Kayode Ajala. He is a public affairs analyst and a regular here on Joy Asonye Live. Thank you so much for being part of the program.
Thank you for having me.
We'll go for a short break to return to get into the conversation today, so stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Like I said earlier, we'll be discussing how world leaders are converged in Dubai to talk about climate change and how we can maybe, if possible, wipe out the use of fossil fuel, as it is encouraging environmental degradation. That's an interesting one, especially when you look at where Africa is in terms of taking the call for climate change seriously. Well, Kayode Ajala, thank you again for being part of the program.
Thank you.
Now let's delve into, first of all, what Nigerians are reacting to. It seems like that conversation is not coming, even in as much as the presidency has released a statement saying that, of course, Nigeria is the largest black nation in Africa, so you would expect a lot of people attending that event. We've also had people, the presidency has also told us that they have only 422 being funded by government to attend that event, which is heads of parastatals and agencies around the environment sector and also the media. Nigerians do not seem, it's still trending on social media. Now, what do you make of it?
Actually, when Ajuri sent me a press statement, that press statement about the number of delegates, I replied him, it's coming too late. That was my reply to him. And he now tried to explain his own side of the story. I have the chart here. Now, the issue is, when you are going for an international conference and there is need for registration, you have to register online. This particular COP28, when you register online and you put your passport number, they are going to put you as part of the Nigerian delegation, because whether you are in-house or you are offline.
Right.
You understand now?
Meaning you're not
meaning that you are either there or you are watching online most of the programs, or you are Zoom programs, virtually.
Right.
Now, if you are not there, whether you are there or not, when you go to the list of delegates from your country, you are there. Now, let's look at the list. Now, if government should have let us know before the number of people they are sponsoring to go, so that it will not create unnecessary bad image for them. But they did not talk about who and who to go. The private sectors, the people in petroleum industries will have to go there because of networking. They have a lot of issues to drag at. Those in the aviation industry must have to be there. The people in Ministry of Environment who are part of government delegation will have to be there to understand what's going on. NEMA and co have to be there. Different sectors of the economy will have to be there. One, to network. Two, to meet other people from other countries doing what they are doing here. So it is an array of people coming to conference of party in Dubai, and the need for everybody to be there, including government. The number of people that federal government took is rather even too long. 422 funding them. Some may not even have a business of
any business
being there at all. So you can see that in a situation where we are in the economic environment, we are expecting government to be more understanding in some of the steps they are taking, but they are not. Rather, they are showing that they don't care, and that's what it looks like. And that is why you see everybody raising eyebrow that why will you have to fund as many, even if it's as 422 you are funding. The 1,400 and something 11 that were mentioning before, they are private sectors.
Most of them,
most of them are private sectors who will have to register by themselves, who will have to fund themselves. Bank executives, professionals, academias, different types sectors will have to go by themselves. But those that are following the government registered and they are funding, they are going and coming, they are 422. But in our economic situation, it's still not ideal.
So what number would you have if you have to recommend for a summit that important? You also just mentioned how important it is to network, according to you, to understand international best practices, especially when it comes to global climate change matters. So what number would you say would not have erupted or gotten this reaction?
What I expected government to do, what I expected government to do is not to even mention the number of people they are funding. 422. Now, by the time they give us the breakdown of the people they were funding, it's quite much. National Council of Climate Change, 32. Federal Ministry of Environment, 34. All ministries, 167. We have presidency, 67. Office of the Vice President, 9. We have National Assembly, 40. And we have federal parastatals and agency, 73. Now, looking at this and our economic situation, it shouldn't have been up to this.
Right.
And normally, even if you are going to give, you don't necessarily have to break it down for us.
Really? A lot of people will say it's a good thing it was broken down.
Even the breaking down, there are holes in it.
Exactly.
Because, okay, federal agencies and parastatals, 73. All ministries, 167. Now, look at that. All ministries, federal agencies are under ministries. So that means they have over 200 at the end of the day. Now, Office of the President and Office of the Vice President. Office of the President, Presidency has 67. The Vice President's office is under Presidency. Why do the Vice President's office have 9 again? When the Vice President's office is under Presidency.
Exactly.
So you will realize that this list that they are shunning out, it doesn't make any economic sense. As much as we know that the private sectors also went there. I know a lot of people went there on their own, but they are assumed to be part of Nigerian delegation. Just like we have China, just like we have India, just like we have other countries having plenty of people coming around, both their public and private sectors. The truth is, Nigerian government should begin to think of reducing the size of governance. And that is why, because of the economic situation in the country, if they don't do that and they keep carrying people or taking them along as delegates to attend conferences, it's still taxpayers' money they are wasting.
Exactly.
And that's what I think.
The past administration, that President Buhari did not attend the COP27, the one of last year. Do you think it had any effect so far on where we stand in the fight for global for global warming or the climate issues?
Joy, listen, when we're talking about past administration, I think we should not talk much about them.
Why not?
There are certain. They
said the president. There are
certain programs that you expect Nigeria to be represented, and Nigerians were not represented, and it wasn't good for us.
Right.
It's not good for us as a country. How can you have a nation? How can you not attend COP27? Climate change. Talking about climate change.
Maybe it's to push this bid to cut down cost of governance.
They could have at least said even if it's 100.
Maybe he understood.
Or maybe they went quietly. They didn't let us know. Because there's no way Minister of Environment would not have gone for COP27.
I mean, the president himself, the entourage that goes with the president.
The president himself will just go to and enjoy himself. He may not even come up for a photo shoot alone. And after the president's line up and the photos, and afterwards we don't hear anything. There's a lot wrong with our system. There's a lot wrong with us as a people. The economic situation is biting harder and harder on the people. That's why you see everybody trying to look for loopholes. What are they doing right? What are they not doing right? What are they doing right? I remember today the honorable the Speaker of the House of Rep was talking about budget, was saying that they must, in all honesty, do things that reflect the aspiration of the people. That some of these things that government do not reflect the aspiration of the people. That's the meaning.
That's the meaning. But when you hear statements like this, does it incite or elicit some sort of hope that this statement for once is backed by action and indeed would have a National Assembly that would really scrutinize the budget and it will reflect the needs of the people? We've heard this several times before.
It elicits hope in a way.
But we've heard it before.
The truth is
over and over before.
But let me tell you something. The truth is that we cannot but hear some of these things regularly. Maybe one day somebody somewhere or ourselves or people will be able to understand the fact that we have brilliant minds in this country.
Okay.
The government must learn to work within the means, recognizing that the people determine how things are run. I mean that a taxpayer's money must be handled with care, not just spending as if nothing is at stake, not just behaving as if nobody is going to question me. You understand now? If you look at that list, we expected federal government to have released a list of delegates. Immediately they got there and said, oh, these are the Nigerian delegation, and they explain it. If not because somebody somewhere raised the eyebrow, people started raising it online. That was when. And I try myself to go online to register. And I noticed that if you go online to register, you are automatically a Nigerian delegate. Whether you are present there or you are doing it virtually.
Right.
You are delegates. So there are things they must be explaining every now and then, quickly for us to understand. Even this list they released contradict each other.
So over the years, when we participate in these global events and getting with world leaders, there's that convergence of world leaders, and Nigeria is represented. What impact does it often have on the country when after all said and done, they are back into the country? Do you see any impact, basically, any appreciable impact?
You can't say there is any impact on these things because it does not translate into meaningful development that we can see as developments. For example, most of these programs abroad that most of the president's engagements abroad, most often civil servants see it as an opportunity to have extra codes. Civil servants see it that way. Business people see it as an opportunity to network. Normally, government should see it as an opportunity to better the lot of its people by submissions, examples of countries, what countries are doing, then liaising and also interacting with investors,
right,
in order for them to come to the country. Those are what government should do, in all honesty, pulling everything together like that. That look, we are going for this event. What we are going for is to seek foreign investors, to let people know that the environment is more conducive now for business, for the academics to meet other of their colleagues and relate on how to improve on technology. These are reasons why all these international events are very, very important.
Right.
But even while you are doing that, I learned that there are some countries, they reduce the number of people going for some of this event because of the cost implication.
Of course.
Because it will affect the purse of the government. It will affect the economy. Therefore, they may even reduce it to the point that maybe the Minister of Environment, for example, of that country will be the only one that will go with his 2 or 3 people, just because they needed to be available. It's very important that governments engage other governments. But the truth is that you also must consider the implication on the country in terms of the economy.
Do you find it insensitive, like it's being said on social media, that the government is insensitive? 422 does not make us...
It's insensitive.
Does not make it any easier for us to understand. These are people who will be there for 9 days or
it's even insensitive.
So ESTA codes will be paid, of course. Per DMs will be paid at this point. And when you look around, Nigerians, some Nigerians are gnashing their teeth just to feed. And there are several promises this government has made to the average Nigerian. There's going to be CNG buses that will make transportation seamless. There's going to be energizing the MSMEs and nano businesses in Nigeria. Loans will be doled out. We've heard several. The declaration of state of emergency on food insecurity. Nigerians are still waiting for that. The removal of fuel subsidy, the cushioning effect that was going to take over, Nigerians are still waiting for that. Do you think this government understand how insensitive it is for 422 delegates to travel all the way to the UAE?
One of the problems we have as a country is that we don't have selfless leaders yet. We have always had selfish leadership. Now, government has to be sensitive to the aspiration of the people. They have to understand what the purpose of government is, to see and understand to it that the well-being of the people is paramount. This particular number of people going for COP28 was an insensitive thing. For me, they shouldn't have gone with that number of people. If you go with 200, not 400, you can be rest assured that there are some individuals. Okay, what happens if Nigerians will now say, okay, give us the list of the 422. Let's know who are those people. I'm sure they will mention some people in the media. They will mention some people in the media. They will mention some of their friends and families who have no business in Dubai, but it's an opportunity to get a Dubai visa and enter Dubai and enjoy. You can be rest assured that there are some people who are in that place, who only go there, they check into their hotel, and that is all. They may not even know what goes on at the event center. Government is very important for government to be sensitive, to understand that we are not just people to be treated shabbily. We are not people to be treated as if we are nobody. They have to learn to be sensitive. The economic situation in the country does not permit this profligacy, this spending, this treating people going in convoy of 50 cars, 100 cars, going to places, bringing in everything. It looks like as if we don't have problem, whereas the problems on ground are more. So government needs to be sensitive and understand that we have to treat people right. Treat the citizens who voted you into power, treat them right. One of such ways to treat them right is not sending 422 people to Dubai. For what? Government delegates. Give them good hotel, give them a star code, then
logistics.
Then take them there and bring them back. Feed them. For how many days now? They've been there. And believe you me, today is the real program is in the next 2 days.
Yes, yeah.
Whereas some people have been there since last week. How long are we going to continue to do this? Government workers are looking for ESTA code. Diplomats around the world who are also going to join are looking for ESTA codes. Everybody is looking for himself. Only very few go there because of what the country will benefit. And that's where I say it.
Learning in, how it's often phrased as international best practice.
Yes.
International best practice. But let's look at Africa and the fight against global warming, or the fight for climate change. Do you think there has been intentional, apart from this, well, I'm trying not to use the word jamboree, apart from this whole event of bringing people together, bringing world leaders together, once again reiterating the need to take global warming seriously, the need for government to enact policies that would tackle climate change? Apart from all of that, have you seen intentionality when it comes to Africa fighting global warming? I'm asking especially because when we even talk about, let's talk about fossil fuel. You know, Nigeria is dragging foot when it comes to our exit from fossil fuel and that source of energy. Let's talk about environmental degradation, as is probably the worst, with the flaring of gas happening in the Niger Delta, for instance.
Yes.
Let's also talk about our plastic use in the country. When have you ever seen recycled bins different from biodegradable bins? Are there? Would you say there is an intentional policy being implemented by these African leaders? I've traveled to some. Let me just focus on Nigeria. Apart from the private organizations, the NGOs that are doing their bit, what is government really doing? Is it about traveling to go meet world leaders and begging for money?
When you look at what is happening with climate all over the world, you will understand that our own government, they are not intentional. They're not taking any steps to improve the climate. Gas flaring is a major problem in the Niger Delta. Gas flaring. Then flood disaster is another major climate problem.
Of course, that's an attendance
and
consequence.
That one comes in every year across the country. Flood control. Now, not to talk of the use of plastics. In Africa, most governments don't have any plan. They only go to this event to listen, to hear, to make promise, and to go. Someone even once said in that conference that it seems as if it has become a regular traditional thing, an annual ritual, while we come together. Okay, the president of this year's COP28 is Sultan from Dubai, and is the head of their oil company. Initially, when he was elected, everybody shouted, how can you put this person as the president of this conference? The truth is, most countries with petroleum resources, most countries that have oil, they are not making any effort on climate control, because it will affect their earning. It will affect their resources. It will affect money coming into their coffers. There are a lot of issues going on there are a lot of climate problems all over the world that is affecting everybody. And when they come for this kind of meeting, it has become rituals. They will come, talk, and everybody will go back. What can you do? Because for me, I expect that each time they come together like this to discuss on this climate problem, they should be able to come back and review it. What have you been able to do? What are those things that we insisted on doing? In a year, have you been able to achieve the same problem? Have we been able to solve the flooding that is killing our people? Attendant
consequences of this climate change.
Greenhouse effect. What are you talking about? What are you bringing in? What have you been able to do? But it's not always the case. Instead, they come up with another, like what they just did this year now. Set up a fund. They call it Climate Fund. That's one of the new things they've done. And the countries were making promises. In fact, initially, America promised one small money. Later, they changed and promised to give them more money. Now, there will be another funds for some set of people to use. There is a lot to do. But coming down to Nigeria, we realize that, look, Nigerian government is not doing anything to tackle climate. In fact, I had one of those politicians saying that after all, if there's any climate problem, we have NEMA, who will quickly attend to some of those disaster-prone areas or problems that may arise. How can you say that? Most our leaders are not proactive enough. Some of the things, they don't even understand what climate is all about, what climate change is all about. They just assume that you sleep, you wake up, you smell gas, or you smell dust. Those are climate. There is more to climate than your climate programs, than just these small mundane things that our politicians think are climate. So for me, Nigerian government are not taking the issue of climate change seriously and what needed to be done. Go to most of our beaches. Go to our lagoon. Go to our oceans. Go to our waterways. Recently, the Navy has been trying to move around the waterways, and they even complain that there are some places they could not even reach because of deaths, because of piles of things that the people who are supposed to clean, the agencies that were supposed to be cleaning, were not doing the right thing. So Nigerian government must take climate seriously. Right.
But let me ask you something. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, one of the reasons I remember way before this this COP28, he said he would take advantage of the conference to remind developed nations in the European Union and the United States of their pledge to boost localized initiative against climate change related challenges with $100 billion annually. And I'm asking, when Nigerians and when African leaders put themselves subservient to these countries like the United States and put themselves subservient to the European Union, and they are there to remind them to pay the pledge of $100 billion annually, do you think it keeps us at an edge to actually engage these leaders and talk about our peculiar problems with our head up high? I hate to beg, and so when I think my country is begging, it makes me uneasy. But how do you feel when the president is going there to say and justifying his trip to tell Nigerians that I'm going there to remind this government again of the pledge of $100 billion?
There's a lot going on, and it has to do with the handlers of our presidents, the people who handles presidency, the people, the speech writers, the people. No, I'm just trying to pull together the people that are handling the presidents, the overall setup of the presidency. Now, most often when, for example, when the president left for Dubai, there were some meetings that I watched on television, in which case after that you see the people in charge of the media saying that they've just met this big man from Turkey who has promised to come and invest in Nigeria. They've met this person who are, at the end of the day, it's only hearsay. It's only what we are hearing.
Right. Have we fixed the business environment back in the country?
The security situation in the country, all over the world, everybody is aware of what goes on in the country. They won't ask governments, what about the security situation? They have independent people. They have independent monitors like us to ask questions from and say, Alpha, what is happening here? What's happening here? Right. What about the security? Can our people come and not be kidnapped?
Or can we start with homegrown solutions before trying to get these FDIs or the foreign direct investment?
The truth is that even with homegrown solutions, okay, for example, we're talking about the farmers before we came on stage. Now, the farmers were, if you know how much our farmers are putting in to the farm, moving their thing from the farm to the market is one challenge. Now, the other challenge is being able to harvest their thing due to insecurity on their farm, or due to these herdsmen pulling all their cows on their farms. At the end of the day, they destroy a lot of farm crops, farm produce. Now, destroying those farm produce, at the end of the day, what are those farmers? What they are able to harvest is smaller. Now, what they have harvested is small. They could not even sell. All they do is eat, some of them. Now, homegrown solution is, first of all, ensuring that our people live safe and they are able to move freely within their area, do what they can do to generate enough revenue within, before we can now be begging somebody from outside to bring in technology, to bring in foreign direct investment, to come and invest in this, come and invest in that. Before we can ask others to come, we must be able to develop our own homegrown solution in order for us to be able to move forward. And our government need to do something seriously about this.
Okay.
If not, because I was looking at what, recently, if the dollar's risen so much, I was looking at somebody listed something online, what was happening many years ago, where practically everything we are producing here. But now, we are not producing one single thing.
Well, I think that's a good place to end this conversation when you say the government has to do something serious about this. And you're right, the government has to do something serious. But let's move to another topic where the government has to do something very serious about the exodus of our skilled workers out of the country. We had recently a report that about 150,000 visas, Nigerians are waiting visas to the United States. That's the United States alone. We'll go for a short break. When we come back, we'll discuss more on that. So stay with us. This is still Joy Asonye live here on Kaftan Television. Well, we're taking the conversation to something very important and concerning. A Nigerian business and management consulting firm did a survey for one that is titled Talent Management, A New World Order, Shifting Paradigms. Anyway, where I'm going to is that, according to this report, more than half of Nigeria's highly skilled employees plan to quit their job and relocate abroad in the next year. That's what that report says. That's most recently also, the Academic Staff Union of Universities says most departments and units in Nigeria's public universities are understaffed as a result of teachers leaving for greener pastures. This was said by Professor Ayo Akinwole, chairman of the University of Ibadan chapter of ASU. He said that Nigeria's public universities are in pitiful condition, with stress and dissatisfaction obvious on the faces of poorly paid lecturers. This is not isolated to what's also going on in the health sector, where health workers are also exceeding this country for greener pastures. What is happening? Would there come a day you are ill, you're trying to get access to the hospitals, and you get there and there's no health worker, no professional, no doctor to attend to you? How are we gradually getting there? This is after a report mentioned that in Enugu State, the teaching hospital has closed some departments of the hospital because there's no doctors to man that department, that unit of the hospital. It is becoming very concerning. Now, my guest in the studio, Kayode Ajala, who has been keeping me company to discuss these very important issues, is still here. He's a public affairs analyst. I thank you for staying with me, even though I seem to be doling out very dire reports this evening. But how does it make you feel? Teachers are leaving, health workers are leaving, and several other sectors are suffering as well. I listened to a friend talk about, and in his estate, in between January of 2023 and we're in December now, he knows 7 people just in his estate. He has not gotten into his workplace. 7 people in the small estate that he lives in have all what they call japa out of this country. What is going on? How is it affecting our economy?
It's really, really a serious matter for us as a people. Recently, in my place of worship, my wife was telling me the number of people that have traveled. These are young, brilliant professionals. In fact, when he was counting them, I said, so this one has gone to, this one has, there were many. Recently, University of Ibadan advertised vacancy in the
University
newspaper.
of Port Harcourt as well, at least I saw that.
2 pages. And what were they looking for? Lecturers, assistant lecturers. In fact, I had to take my time to look at it, and I realized that they were even at a point trying to lower
the standard.
But
that's the requirements. That's the unfortunate. That's
because
the unfortunate
they wanted to
consequence
attract more hands to come and work in the university. Most of our professionals, especially our young ones, are traveling abroad because of the situation in the country. and federal government must do everything. Recently, I learned that they said they were talking in the House of Rep that maybe what they should do is make doctors to work for 9 years before they allow them to. I said, look, are you the one that funded them to go to school? They can afford to go to school abroad, come back to Nigeria and do the right thing. The truth is that we're losing more professionals. And these are the generation of professionals that is needed to raise this country from these dear states that we are in. Lecturers, teachers, skilled professionals. You see every day, go to our international airports, you see movements. Not just to US, to UK, to Canada, to Australia, even to some African countries.
I remember at the beginning of the Ukrainian-Russian conflict or war, however it's mentioned these days, I remember Nigerians offering to travel to Ukraine.
Yes.
Yes, travel to Russia, even if it means joining their army. That's not to mention the many that are dying every day in the Mediterranean Sea and just trying to leave this country. It tells you about the situation back here. The welfare of these professionals back here, the dilapidated facilities that especially the health workers have to be subjected to. However, how is it that when others, the people in diaspora or foreigners come to this country, they see a thriving, blossoming nation. They tell you there's so much opportunities. I've had conversations with several who would tell you, wow, Nigeria has so many opportunities. There's nothing you put your mind to that you will not succeed.
That's true.
So what's going on here? Where are we getting it wrong? Is it the mindset Nigerians have, or is it that we still have the mindset of as long as it is not Nigeria, it is better?
Why we think that way is because of one or two issues. One of those issues, let me raise it with you. When you see the way our politicians live a flamboyant lifestyle, they live the flamboyant lifestyle, while an health professional, maybe a nurse or a doctor who is in the hospital, is given stipend and he still has to live within the same country. There is a challenge. Most of our leaders are not ready to cut off their excesses and thereby affecting every other person. We buy in the same market. We go to the same Wuse market.
Of course.
It's
always said, there's no special market.
There's no special market for certain set of people. We buy the same petrol. We buy the same petrol. We buy the same. We'll do practically the same thing, but our lifestyle differs. So that means that if you are elected into government, you can steal money to fund your lifestyle. Whereas the doctors who are helping people, the teachers who are making us to have skilled workers, and other professionals, they are not well paid. And government will only tell them because of the economic situation, we cannot pay you beyond this. So tell me, why will people not want to go to a country like Ghana, who they think will pay the doctors, a doctor or nurse, better? I remember when we were growing up, it was our nurses and doctors that were going to Saudi Arabia, and they are well paid in Saudi. I can't forget one or two people I know. In fact, immediately we talk about this, they came to my mind. Husband and wife. The husband is a doctor, the wife is a nurse. Two of them went to Saudi Arabia. They were there as consultants for years. Before they now they got old and came back home to enjoy their money. A lot of people
when they
go
have
out.
the energies,
That's
also concerning.
That's also concerning.
Exactly, when you have the energies to contribute to national development.
But you now go to another country to contribute to them, and that's what's happening to. If you go to England, for example, UK, we have so many skilled Nigerians who are in their medical fields, paramilitary, who are in different sectors of the economy, and they are helping their economy.
Right.
But here, what government needs to do is, first of all, our leaders must cut their excesses in terms of their lifestyle. When they can cut their lifestyles and everybody live normally, that means you are first, because those are the first set of things you have to do in order to encourage me to stay in the country.
Right.
I can't be seeing you driving all this type of big motor, and you also expect me, and you give me stipend as salary. So where are you getting those things from? Government need to do that first. Number two, before you can begin to preach loyalty to the nation to me, you have to show that you yourself, you are loyal to the nation. We are talking about people who are importing practically everything, including toothpaste, including toothpick, a biro, pencil from abroad. Whereas,
we're talking about people who will send their children abroad for medical tourism,
for medical tourism,
educational tourism.
Whereas you are not raising the bar of medicine, or you are not raising the bar of medical practice here, making sure that our health centers are filled up, making sure that all the things are done well, or making sure that our classroom, the teachers who are teaching you and me, they are well taken care of. No, why would they not go out? So government must look into this area and realize that, look, if you are going to encourage people not to travel out, you must give them the enabling environment. And that enabling environment is making sure you take care of the people. But they must first of all cut.
Right. Well, let's take a journey to the 2024 appropriation, rather. That's what is themed the budget of renewed hope. And the most affected sectors are the education sector, where just 2.18 trillion naira, that's 7.9 trillion naira, 7.9% of the budget has been budgeted rather, or provided for education.
Okay.
That is against the United Nations 26% of budget recommendation for education. Does it concern you? Health, at the other hand, has about 1.33 trillion. In spite of all the cries and all of that we've had, we have just 5% of the budget as well, which I, for one, think is really low, considering the components of other parts of the budget, or other components of the budget. So how does it make you feel when you see digits like this fly around? Just 5%.
The title of the 2024 budget is Renewed Hope. Renewed Hope
budget.
Whereas the security takes the largest share of this budget. Now, when you look at other sectors, other very, very important sectors, they are nowhere to be found in terms of the budget and the United Nations Development Goal orientation as to what should be done in terms of this area, for example, education, in terms of health, what has to be done. When you look at those things, you will come to realize that, look, we are still far behind.
Right.
That means and yet we are crying for investors to come. That means the security situation is still in their states. The budget, as it has been presented by the president, it still leaves one to feel, where are we going in this country? How can we be looking at our education sector going down? Even private universities now are the ones that are thriving. They are thriving because they can use one lecturer to cover about 10 different areas.
But how does that help our?
It doesn't help our skills, because most of the quality of what comes out of those schools, they are nothing to write home about. They are nothing to write home about. The quality of we see them as youth corps members coming in, and when you interact with them, you realize that the quality of what comes in from those private schools, you shake your head for this country. When you look at the budget as it is, just like I read to you the other time what the House of Reps Speaker said, budgets must be able to express the aspiration of the people, and not just that you are coming with budget just for the purpose of budgeting.
Budget, right.
It's not just for the purpose of budgeting. What are the aspirations of the people? What are those things that will benefit the people? What are those things that will make the people to be better? And that is what our government should be thinking of doing. So for me, I think when you look at this budget, it still leaves us to a lot of troubles. It still leads us to issues that are not attended to.
Well, the budget at the moment is being scrutinized in the National Assembly. Do you see that the checks and balances necessary for that? This is this trench of National Assembly that was singing praises when the president came to for the joint session. Do you see them really looking into this budget to say, you know what, this shouldn't go here, this is too much for here, let us tweak it here and there? Do you see this National Assembly as indeed breaking it down and critically scrutinizing it?
There is a cartoon I read some days ago. After the budget was presented, I don't know which of the newspaper now. They said the scrutiny of the budgets by National Assembly, National Assembly, is to know where they can put their hole. That was the cartoon. That was what the cartoon is all about.
But that is how Nigerians believe. That's what Nigerians believe.
We're used to budget being presented and nothing, and at the end of the day, it's bloated. The president put 77 naira. 770 naira
in the scrutiny,
they are putting a certain percent, of what they want to achieve. The National Assembly looked at it and said it's not, they increase it
in their recommendation, of course.
In their recommendation, they increase it in order to cover other areas that do not benefit the people. Presently, it's like a routine. It's like what goes on regularly. When the president presents his budget, National Assembly look at it and they pass it. At the end of the day, the question we keep asking ourselves is, what is the purpose of budgeting? What is the purpose of appropriation? Does the appropriation reflect the aspirations of the people? No. And these are the challenges that we'll continue to have as long as government does not see things in a better perspective. As long as government do not realize that, look, you have to start cutting your coat according to your clothes, not according to your size. That is the way it is. The budget of today, it has some good areas, but it has a lot of issues that National Assembly are trying to trash out, so we cannot do much justice on that budget for now. Until we see the eventual approved budget
document.
Yes.
Well, speaking about everything, what would be your suggestion too? Because Nigerians are watching, and you know, that's a National Assembly that has a bouquet of political parties. It's not a one-party National Assembly. There is the Labour Party in there. There's the NNPP in there. We have ABGA in there. We have several other political parties.
This particular National Assembly, we have too many.
Yes,
we have a lot of political parties.
Should be a good thing.
Yes,
which should be.
It's supposed to be a plus for us that we have more political parties, but how many of them are bold enough to come out and say they are not supporting this instead of clapping their hands for this? Are they selfless or are they selfish?
How were they all able to sing praises when the president got into the plenary session? I cannot for the life of me. It's a very important and serious event going on. Was it necessary to show allegiance to the president? How then would you act in your bid for checks and balances if you already show, oh, you're my master, I bow to you, by your mandate I stand, and all of that? The checks and balances that is bringing you here, Oga, you're missing it, and all that. So do you think that the Nigerian people have confidence on this 10th assembly?
You see, the framers of the constitution, they have good intentions.
They probably do.
But the fact is that the people who are practicing or who are executing those, who are following up on those laws, they are the challenges that we are having presently. For example,
like you said in local parliament, the problem.
The ethics committee, for example, is supposed to be for the opposition party. If you look at the whole system of National Assembly today, we have too many different political parties, which is supposed to be a plus. But at the end of the day, you just look at, we were talking about the amount, the vehicle distribution the other time, and Labour Party was saying that it is a tool for their work. When we are saying that
133 million naira
vehicles. When we are talking about the lives of the people. How many households can afford to eat comfortable food tonight in their home? And yet you are the representative of the people, voted to go to the people's house. You can afford to collect that kind of a thing without asking questions. Why must we collect that?
Most concerning is the fact that in 4 years, most Nigerians, not me, I will remember, most Nigerians would have forgotten, and the next National Assembly will be asking for, of course, more money to get these vehicles. Most of them would have forgotten they got this, and they will not leave it if they are leaving. So it's shrouded in so much corruption. And before I let you go, I think the question I'll just ask is, where do you think the hope lies? For those who are leaving the country, what would be your last thoughts to them?
For those living out of the country, you cannot blame them. But for those who are still available, they should add they should do their own bid to make the nation to work. Then those who are traveling abroad, they should also remember that there's no way you can live in another man's country the same way you live in your own country. And that's where some of the problems they have when it comes to the issue of tax. When whereas here you can live here without paying tax, and you can go scot-free, whereas in those countries you cannot. You must pay for everything. So what I would just advise most of our professionals who are going abroad is they should also remember that they have to build we have to build this country together. Building it is the most important thing. You cannot continue to build other people's country and not build your own country, because you must still come back home.
And most importantly, keep the remittances coming. So unfortunately, this is it for Joy Asonye Live Edition this beautiful Tuesday evening. We've had Kayode Ajala, our own public affairs analyst, analyze what's been going on around Nigeria with me here on the program. But rest assured, we'll be back tomorrow with so much more. So I urge you to have a wonderful evening as you rest for tonight.